Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to go through binder number 2 of the Red Sox collection. So this is part 2 of that video. We've discussed, we saw some of the more vintage cards. And today we're going to flip through the 1984 and beyond binder. So let's see what we got in here. This is 1984 Nestle's. So for those of you who don't know, the Nestle's collection is a very sought after set. It's a parallel, basically, for 1984. And it has, just very high value set. It's not like Topps Tiffany, but probably like a $400, $300 or $400 set. I'd have to look it up to be sure, but that's kind of what we're looking at for those. So the key here is always finding like the key players. But I did come across a Nestle's partial and then another Nestle's partial that I bought on eBay. And so a lot of the Red Sox were there, so I pulled a lot of the Red Sox for this binder. I thought it would be cool to have that parallel Nestle set in in the binder, in the Red Sox binder. So you got Bill Buckner there. Let me see if that first page has kind of the star players. It does have Bruce Hurst, Bob Stanley, Tony Armas, Rich Gedman, and Jerry Remy, and Nestle's Wade Boggs. And here's a Yaz from 1983 highlights. 1984 had, those kind of key players there. Let's see what else we got. Then we have some traded. So the Bill Buckner is actually at 84 traded. So is the Mike Easler. And Jackie Gutierrez and a couple others like that. Then we have our Don Russ, 84 Don Russ set. Dwight Evans, Jim Rice, Bob Stanley. So some of the better players. Eckersley. And of course Wade Boggs. That is a second-year Wade Boggs. Some other key players. We get the Oil Can, Dennis Oil Can Boyd. Let's see who else we got here. Tony Armas. Not a lot of great players in 84. They were a couple of years away from their big making it to the World Series. Then we have an 84 Yaz. This is from the subsets. This is the 84. That's kind of a cool card. The 84 Yaz and Bench, retiring superstars. Bruce Hurst. This is from 84 Flair. Kyle Yastrzemski. I don't know if for a base card, if Flair was the only one who made a Yaz. A Jim Rice, Eck, Dwight Evans, and Wade Boggs. So this was kind of the core of the team that went to the 86 series, but they were obviously missing one key player that went to this, that helped them go to the series the next year. Obviously Dave Hernandez, but more importantly, Roger Clemens. As you can see, there is no 84 Flair Roger Clemens in here. That would be a pretty big card to have in here. See Wade Boggs. For the longest time, I thought these cards were off-center, and I couldn't believe that all you found was off-center cards. But it turns out that part of another card is supposed to go side by side with this. It's the NL Championship. And then, of course, here you go. The Roger Clemens rookie. That's an 85 Topps. And then you have the usual suspects, Dwight Evans, 30-year Wade Boggs, Bruce Hurst, Bob Stanley. And this does comprise the core of the team that made it to the 86 World Series. Okay. And then there's other players, obviously the Buckner, Al Nipper, Bobby Ojeda, Marty Barrett, who turned out to be the starting second baseman on that team. Jerry Remy. They kind of went back and forth, but Marty Barrett was the main guy, I would say. Dave Stapleton, who should have been at first base when the ball went through Buckner's legs. John McNamara decided he was going to have Billy Buckner out there to celebrate the big victory, which turned into a big disaster. So for those of you who don't know Red Sox history, there you go. There's some insight. And so here's a key one. The Roger Clemens 85 Flair rookie. So obviously, technically, this isn't a rookie card because in 84, Flair released the rookie in an update. So that's truly, in my opinion, and this is solely my opinion, but as a collector, to me, the premier Roger Clemens card to have is that 84 Flair. That's just, I don't think that's really debatable. Jerry Remy, Jim Rice. As you can see, I'm missing some 85 Flair in this binder. And then here we have the 85 Donruss. And there you have the Roger Clemens rookie in 85 Donruss. So this is a really nice set, very condition sensitive set. So to have, for lack of a better term, these cards in nice condition is kind of a big deal, and it's been a painstaking process to put it together and sort of identify cards that you could use for this binder. So it's always an upgrading process. This is 86 Flair. Mike Easler. There's no big names, I think, in here. Again, 86 Flair is another set that I haven't really pulled out a bunch of Red Sox cards. So this is very short of the team set, and there is a lot of cards still to be filled out in this one. Here's 86 Donruss. And I would say that this is probably similar. There's a lot of cards missing, but there are Jim Rice, Rich Gedman, Oil Can, Marty Barrett, etc. Sorry if this is a little bit unclear, but I found that using the tripod when you have when you are trying to look through a binder is very, very difficult. There's no easy way to do it. Here's a highlights card. Roger Clemens starts season 14-0. We kind of lose track of just how great Clemens was in his heyday, right? Bruce Hurst, highlights, pitcher of the month in September. Then some minis from Topps, Wade Boggs, Dwight Evans. Some Sport Flicks, it's Bob Stanley. Tony Armez. Yeah, Tony Armez. Then you have the 86. 86 here. Nothing to speak of from this 86 set, really. Maybe the Roger Clemens. You can identify a couple of cards that are okay. But this is where baseball sort of lost its... well, at least baseball cards sort of started losing its way. In my opinion, those 85 sets are really the last of the collectible sets. For me as a seller on eBay and as a collector, I feel that the cards you can still sort of sell in lots probably go up to 1985. By then, by 1986, whether it's Topps or anybody else, Donruss sort of, the 86 Donruss a little bit better. But the 86 Donruss, maybe a little bit better. The 86 Flair, maybe a little bit better. But those are still pretty doable cards. And people tend to buy those as sets at that point. Here you have Jim Rice, one of the All-Star cards. I almost kind of, so cards like this, I don't know, you guys can let me know what you think in the comments, but I look at these cards here like this, these kind of sort of small subsets from the late 80s as kind of a more sought after product because you don't see them all the time. I'm sure you can buy these sets for like $5 or $6 on eBay, but to me, as a collector who sort of gathers stuff up by buying in bulk, I think those are kind of the more sought after, a little bit more difficult, I guess, to find. Not a lot more difficult to find, but a little more difficult to find. Here you have Dave Henderson. Dave Henderson hit probably one of the biggest home runs in Red Sox history, and he did it, I believe, Dave Henderson hit the home run to tie the game off of Donnie Moore. Of course, Donnie Moore ended up great Angels closer that season. I don't know if he was an all-time great. I would say no. But that season he was having a killer year, and he ended up committing suicide as a result. I don't know if it was as a result of just this home run. Obviously, that's not the case. Nobody does that because of just one thing. But if memory serves me correctly, and I would have to look this up for the details, but Donnie Moore not only killed himself, but he harmed his family before he did. Unfortunately, a tragic story, really. Mike Greenwell, I remember as a kid thinking this was the card of all cards. We're going to get this card and it's going to be awesome. And Mike Greenwell was an okay player, but never turned out to be the superstar. And of course, even if he had turned out to be a superstar, it wouldn't have mattered because the 1987 set was just grossly mass produced. And I'm going to kind of sort of fly through these. If there's something that sort of sticks out here, I'll bring it up. There's another Roger Clemens record breaker. That's a cool card. Roger Clemens 86. Then, Mike Greenwell's The Rookies. So I was like, that again, that's one of those different products that sort of is more sought after a little in this era. Roger Clemens Sport Flicks. Roger Clemens 87 Donruss. Jim Rice. Greenwell. And I'm going to try to, go through this fairly quickly because, right, there isn't much in the way of big dollar cards here. It's a Rich Gedman auto. So I try to include autos in this binder because I think it's neat. So as you can see, I have the Rich Gedman and then a Rich Gedman, what we would today call a base Rich Gedman versus an auto Rich Gedman, except this auto was obtained in person. Tom Seaver, 87 Flair. Tom Seaver came to the Red Sox at the end, as many greats tended to do. We would see if they had anything left. All right, Don Baylor. Another Roger Clemens. Mike Greenwell, 87 Flair rookie, I guess. That's a cool card. Dr. K and Super K. Both of these guys were obviously a big deal. The All-Star Battery. So that's Gary Carter and Roger Clemens. And Keith Hernandez and Wade Boggs. And then again, some of these subsets. Flair Limited Edition. And then Leaf. So to me, if there was something that's really cool to collect from the 87, 88, 89, 90-ish period, I don't even know if 90 made any, but certainly 88, 87, 86 is Donruss Leaf. This is much harder to find here and kind of a big deal, if you can find a bunch of these cards. I over the years have bought just tons and tons and tons and tons of this type of stuff. 88 Donruss. and you get a handful of Leaf cards. So it's not that easy to come by, at least around here. I don't know if that was a product simply intended for Canada, but it is a cool, sort of chase card from this era. You know what I mean? If there is such a thing. Here's again another auto. That's Dennis Oil Can Boyd from 88. There's a better look at it from 88 Tops. I mean, right? These are the cards right here that I pulled out of packs for years. 80, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, and 90. And then in 1990, maybe probably 1990, I stopped collecting because I was in 1990, I was about 15 years old, and there was a whole bunch of other stuff to do. You know what I mean? Females took over, high school sports took over, and other things. And as a result, you sort of go away from the hobby for a little bit, and then you come back to it as an old guy, like I am now. So here you get my Mike Greenwell Sport Flick card, 88 Flair. Can't think of anything overly spectacular here to show you on the 88 Flair. And then, stuff like this, again, these sticker sets, Mike Greenwell, Dwight Evans, Ellis Burks. This is kind of the neat stuff, you're not going to find every day. And you get a Dwight Evans starting lineup card, because where are you going to find that, really, except for the starting lineups. 88 Score. Nothing really overly spectacular here. I do include stuff like this. So here you have a Bill Campbell signed card on that set from, I want to say this is probably 1991, because this is the kind of stuff they were making in 1991. Nope, it's 88 Pacific. So this is a cool set. If you can't own all the old-time greats, this is kind of a neat set that allows you to do that. So that's kind of neat. 89 Tops. Again, nobody of any consequence here, but, just show you a couple of cards. Wade Boggs, Dwight Evans, etc. Nothing special here. And these were big sets, man. And the team sets, I will say this about the late 80s. You had a lot, you could put together a really nice team set, right? Almost everybody on the 25-man roster came in a card. Almost every single player. When you got cards from Jeff Sellers to Tom Bolton, and so if you were true as a kid and a fan of the team, it was really neat to be able to get all of the players that were going to make up the roster. 89 Score. This was a set I collected thinking, geez, this is going to be worth a lot of money someday. And of course, in not true fashion, none of that came to fruition. And then this one, of course, this is the set that sort of changed the hobby, right? It's 1989 Upper Deck, right? Of course, most famous for its Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card, but right, this revolutionized cards, right? Up until then, it was card stock, and it was this, not glossy really for the most part. The hologram was a big deal. There was a picture on the front of the card and a picture on the back of the card, right? So you had basically two action shots of a player. I mean, there was just so much about this set that, revolutionized things, Of course, card packs went from being 50 cents to $1. And I know a lot of people who shut it down and said, I'm never paying $1 for a pack of cards. Well, I guess we would have to think about today if that was the case. If you could say to those people, hey, remember that when you wouldn't pay $1 for a pack of cards? Well, now they're paying, hundreds of dollars for boxes that don't contain 15 cards per pack or any of that great jazz, just junk, as people attempt to chase one of ones and one of 25s. These are the 89 Bowman. Nothing critical by the Red Sox standard in here. Again, the only card of any consequence in 89 Bowman would probably be Randy Johnson and, of course, Ken Griffey Jr., especially if you had Bowman Tiffany, right? But these are some nice cards. I figured in any history of card collecting, you'd sort of have to have this stuff. 1990, and we'll flip through this pretty quickly because we're down to the nitty-gritty here. But, there's nothing of any consequence in the later years here. And again, these cards were kind of what I look for as kind of these all-star subsets. Because the base sets really aren't worth anything. These are sets you sell for $10. And you buy them for $10. During the pandemic, they did go up in price. These are the comic cards. During the pandemic, some of those sets went up in price for a little while. People sort of lost their minds, forgot the fact that these sets existed in grotesque bunches. In absolutely astronomical numbers. Here's a guy who never quite materialized. Carlos Quintana. We thought he was going to be the next great thing, but it never quite made its way out there. And then we start with Roger. Let's finish with Roger. Roger Clemens, 1990 Flair. So. And again, some O-Pee-Chee. Tim Nearing, he was supposed to be a stud. Jeff Reardon at the end. Jack Clark at the end. And then Mo Vaughn. Roger Clemens. So I'm just going to end by saying this. The Roger Clemens was a complicated relationship with Roger Clemens for me. Roger Clemens was a great pitcher during the regular season. In the postseason, he just never seemed to put it together in large chunks. I remember in 2003 when we were facing Roger Clemens and he was with the New York Yankees in Game 7. It was Pedro versus Roger Clemens, and I remember thinking to myself and telling my buddy, who was a Yankees fan, is a Yankees fan, I suppose, I feel good about tonight's game because not only did we have Pedro on the mound, but Roger Clemens, sort of wets himself in big moments like that. And he did. He gave up a huge lead, and they pulled him, I think, by the fourth or fifth inning. And of course, Pedro ended up, being run out there for too long. Grady Little left him out too long, and the Yankees were able to tie the game, and then of course win it with Aaron Boone's home run. But Roger Clemens, very complicated. I love watching old Roger Clemens games where he strikes out 20, and obviously his records speak for themselves. But in the big moments, when it came for the Red Sox anyway, he struggled. Well, that's it for this video. I want to thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it's a little bit longer of a video, and I know the stuff's not ultra exciting, especially here at the end, but it is cool. It's kind of a trip down memory lane. I want to thank you guys for watching. I want to thank you for all your support. Please feel free to comment, like, and subscribe. And thanks again for watching. And we've got a couple of videos get up for you soon. So thanks a lot, guys, and have a great night.